Pleasure to welcome to the show Zach Vigue, starting goalie of the Richmond Spiders. Zach, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. Pleasure to get into it. I was going to be tons of fun chatting goalie for the next hour or so. I would love to hear
Love
the
it.
story about when you first jumped into goal. Do you remember that?
I do. So it's actually funny. I started off as an attackman. Um, Realized that I was really slow. I was never a fast guy. But I was gonna stick with it, and then I actually went to my first lacrosse store ever. And I saw this like huge goalie stick, super bright, like dyed head, super like I think it was blue mesh, like colorful. And I was I want it. And my parents looked at me, they're like look, like Christmas is coming up. If you want it, like we can get it for you as a Christmas present, but you have to play goalie, like you got to use it. And I was like, that's fine. So ended up hopping in the cage a little before that Christmas. I think I borrowed a stick, and ever since then I've been a goalie.
I love it. So it was the gear, it was the stick that
It
first got
was.
first got you. When you jumped into goal, did you ever have a thought like, oh man, what the heck did I get into?
Um, so most people probably do. I like me and my dad actually talk about this a lot. He said that he knew that I was a goalie from the moment I stepped in because like I didn't step away from the ball.
Yeah.
Everybody says that like goalies have a screw loose, and I guess mine was that I didn't care if uh, somebody was shooting a hard ball at me. I was stepping towards it. So um,
Where do you think that comes
yeah,
from? Because that is a, like, when you work with youth goalies and when goalies are first starting out, like that's the first like hurdle you've got to jump over is just getting used to that
yeah,
shot. Like fire, even like high schoolers and sometimes even the college guys, like it's just not a natural thing. Like sometimes your body tenses up. So how did how,
yeah.
how did you get over that?
So like I think mine kind of stemmed from other sports. Like I from the time I was like 3 years old, I was playing sports. Soccer. I started football when I was like 5 years old. I actually played football um, competitively before I ever played lacrosse competitively.
Mm.
So I think just like getting hit in football helped me, and then just playing other sports, I kind of knew like what I was supposed to do. Obviously, like you talk about like college guys still flinching and stuff. Like I still do it a little bit. It's not necessarily like a um, scared thing. It's just like a oh my gosh, like your body's kind of just tensing up, getting ready for it. And I
Right.
think a huge part of goalie is just like trying to limit that as much as possible so that you can give yourself the best opportunity.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's not like you're scared of the ball. It's just like this natural bodily reaction. Like
Exactly.
for years, like humans have evolved to protect ourselves, and so like when you have this projectile coming at you, it's like you just involuntarily start to do these responses. Like the head will come down, your knees will buckle
Mhm.
in, your arms will come in, the hips kind of go forward, and so you know, welcome to the world of lacrosse goalie, where you got to like train thousands of years of human evolution out of your system, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's definitely like the biggest part of uh being a college goalie is learning to fix that. And we work a lot like specifically on drills that kind of keep you from dropping your hands and flinching and things like that. So
Yeah, yeah, love it. How did you then, as a young goalie, you got the stick? By the way, do you remember what stick it was? What head?
it was an Eclipse One, the
Okay.
original Eclipse. Yeah,
All right, cool. Great head. Great head.
it
That was
was. It was.
yeah. Anyway, so you got that head, you've got sort of the lack of fear, but how do you then go about learning how to make saves? And you grew up in North Carolina, yeah? I mean,
Yeah.
is it a big lacrosse scene there? Is there a lot of coaches around? Like how'd you learn?
Yeah, so it got bigger as I got older. Like now, North Carolina is actually like turning into like somewhat of a hotbed. Obviously, not like Baltimore and like New York and places like that, but
Hmm.
the sport's growing like crazy down there. I actually never had growing up. I never had a goalie coach. Went to like a camp or two when I was younger, but nothing like super serious. My dad's actually the one who taught me how to play goalie. I would just kind of go to a field, do a bunch of drills with him. Like he learned it online, like YouTube and stuff like that, as did I. So we kind of just went out. We did the same like 4 or 5 drills over and over again until we found new ones, and then we just start doing the new ones on top of the old ones, and it was just a cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure hopefully he stumbled across some Lax Goalie Rat content.
I'm sure he did somewhere
Yeah,
along the way.
somewhere along the way. Yeah, so what was I gonna say? So a lot of times young goalies are always looking for like new drills, new drills, new
Hmm.
drills. And that could be great. Like I get it. Like it's nice to have the variety, but sometimes you don't need them. Like sometimes,
Yeah,
6 drills and shots are like all you need to reach like a really high level. You just got to keep putting in that work.
yeah, I
Whatever.
completely agree.
Yeah. Um, how do you describe your style of play, Zach? Just in terms of like, I don't know, start with the stance and then maybe talk a little bit about your like arc play as well.
Yeah. So for my stance, I sit a little lower, especially for a bigger guy. Like most bigger goalies kind of stand tall and react low, I feel like, but I think I give myself the best chance on both high and low shots when I'm most like explosive. Um, so I feel like when I'm down, like maybe in a little more squatted position, I'm better off exploding high and I'm closer to those low shots. Uh, and then my arc play, I play a pretty flat arc for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like I'd say it's still a 5 step arc, but I'm just not coming out as far. I like to stay kind of parallel um, to what's in front of me and parallel to like the goal line and everything. So I just think it gives me the best chance of making stops, and it makes my body look bigger and maybe take up a little more of the net, um, rather than stepping out and playing a high arc and then like having to react super fast to shots. I'd rather have more time with my hands and like maybe get hit in the body.
Right. Yep. That is the benefit. That is the benefit. It gives you like that extra, I don't even know what it is, like 10th of a second or probably less.
Exactly.
But sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes that's just enough to get those hands there, get the body over, and
Mhm.
make that save. So, cool, man. What would you say is your favorite part about being the goalie?
I'd say I like the pressure that comes with it. I like being like the last line of defense. Because like I know, like obviously there's shots that you can save that sometimes you don't that you should have, and then there's some that you get that are um, that you shouldn't save that you do, and those are the ones that always like got me super pumped to play the position, and those are the ones that um, like kind of lured me in at first. Was like, dang, like you make a big stop, everybody in the crowd goes crazy. All your teammates are like giving you fist bumps and stuff, and I just loved it. I mean, I love like pressure situations, specifically like in sports. Like I feel like I perform better in bigger games,
Yeah.
and um, yeah, I mean, I'd say just being the last line of defense is like calming to me because I know um, that I can have my teammates' backs, even like if something does happen in front of me.
Yeah, I love that. Couple questions on what you just said there. So one, the comment about playing better in the big games.
Mhm.
What do you attribute that to? It's like you feel the pressure, you really like the pressure, and as a result, like you end up playing better. Is that it, or some other tips you can share for the kids who don't play well in big games?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like part of it, a lot of it is mental. For me, is like I know going into bigger games that like I have to dial in and lock in, and a lot of it for me is just like supporting teammates. Like I said before, is just like I know that like some stuff's gonna happen in the game that I'm gonna get some shots that I shouldn't stop, but like I need some of those. And I think that if you get your mental aspect right, then everything else kind of just falls in line. So I think I don't necessarily prepare any differently for bigger games. It's just
Mhm.
kind of just thinking about it more, maybe watching a little more film, just doing that like extra stuff that you need to do, and making sure you're as calm as possible going into them. Because I think, especially for younger goalies, it's hard um, going into those big games and like staying calm. And
Right.
you really just have to trust the work that you put in. It's no different than any other game. Everybody else, like especially at the Division 1 level, no matter who you play, anybody can beat anybody. Um, so it's just knowing that everybody on that field's human with you, um, and the mistakes can be made, but overall, you just gotta keep your head down and push through it.
Yep. The other thing you mentioned there was, there's two types of saves. It's like one, or not saves, but two types of situations. One where you give up a goal where you should have had the save, and then one where you make the save where it should have been a goal, right? There's kind of those two
Mm-hmm.
scenarios. Ideally, as a goalie, like we want to get rid of this one, get rid of, like,
Yeah.
mentally forget about the ones where we give up the goals where we should have said, and then like ride these highs. Like, how do you do that for yourself personally?
Yeah, I mean, so like in golf, Tiger has a 10-step rule. I kind of give myself like a 10-second rule. So like it varies, but by time the next whistle blows for a face off, I'm thinking like, where's the ball? It's not like, oh, like this happened on this shot. Like there's nothing you can do about it. It's either a goal or it's not. And like, yeah, the ones that you save that are huge, like should get you pumped up. Um, but you also got to settle back in. And then the ones that maybe like go in that you think you should have had, like it's, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it once it goes in. So it's kind of just moving past that. And the thing I do is just like wait for that next whistle. And once it blows, everything goes down the toilet, and I just
Mm,
forget about it to the best of my ability, at least.
yeah, yeah. Some goalies are very like take the even keel route, right? Like they don't get too low and they don't get too high either. Like
Yeah.
that, you have a big play and you don't like really get high. Are you more of an even keel guy? Because I gotta say, for me, I love, like, when I made a great save, like, giving it that like big gesture, like giving it a let's go, like as loud as you can, like getting really pumped up really worked for me because I was able to not get so low. But I'm curious how
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like you make one of those big saves, I get super excited.
All right.
A lot of times I like to just like look at the sideline, and um, the other goalies are always cheering me on. So I always look at them and I like just kind of, I'll say let's go and like pump a fist or something, or I'll kind of just look up into the crowd and like just like shake my head a little bit, do something. Nothing too crazy, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I definitely have those moments where I get really excited and want to say something.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. So you have, I guess around high school, you start to, or let me ask this: when did you first kind of have the idea that you could play lacrosse at the college level?
So I didn't know exactly like when that would be, like when I know that I could have done it. It's more so when I wanted to do it. I actually, when I first started off playing lacrosse, I didn't love it. But once I got into playing goalie, I fell in love with it. Um, and I think I just kind of had this dream build up over the years. Maybe by the time I was like 9 or 10, just watching Duke UNC games. I just kind of really wanted to play Division 1 lacrosse, and I set that as my goal. I'd say probably around maybe like 8th grade. I realized that I was like pretty good at it, and I was actually practicing over at my high school. Like two or I think two of their goalies were out, so they only had one left on the team, and they needed somebody. My dad was coaching the high school at the time, um, so I went up to a couple practices and practiced with them, and like I realized that I could hang with them, and I was only in 8th grade. So I think probably that point was when I knew like I could really accomplish my dream of making it um, to the Division 1 level.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so how did the recruiting process go for you? Did you have like, were you looking at Duke? Were you looking at UNC? Was it, what were kind of your options and how did it go for you?
So there's like uh some like talk about Duke, not really. It was more so like they want to see me play more.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't anything super serious at the time. I had some other looks, some other schools, a lot of which were very far away, and I'm kind of a homebody. Um, so Richmond reached out to me September 1st. I had a call with Coach Shimati, and it went really well. And went on my visit and kind of fell in love with the campus. Uh, Went on a couple other ones as well. Went up to Bryan. I visited up there, loved it up there. But I felt that this was the best fit for me, and um, it wasn't a super hard decision for me just because it was so close to home, and it was just such a beautiful place, and I love the coaching staff and everything about it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd say just like, I mean, my recruiting process wasn't super hard. I committed October of my junior year of high school,
Nice.
so it wasn't super long and drawn out, which definitely was good for me, I think.
Yeah. I was just looking on a map here. I'm a West Coast guy, so I was trying to see how far away we are here.
Yeah, it's about like 2 hours and 45 minutes,
Okay.
my hometown to Richmond.
Oh, that's doable. That's very
Oh
doable.
yeah,
That's actually perfect because if you ask me, like that's kind of where I was at from my hometown to college, and it's like long enough
yeah,
where like you're not at risk at the pop in visit, but it's like short enough
yeah,
where it's like short enough where you can make it back, for a weekend if you want.
exactly, exactly. I don't have to hop on a plane to get home.
Yeah, exactly. And you can drive too.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Any tips you would give for high schoolers out there thinking about playing college lacrosse in terms of the recruiting process?
I mean, I'd say like it sounds cheesy, but like kind of just enjoy it. I mean, I something I did. I'm a person, I get stressed out pretty easily with certain things, and I think that's where I kind of lost my way in the recruiting process a little bit. Is I was getting all these calls and emails and stuff, and I was kind of freaking out about it, um, just because it's a lot to handle. Um, so I'd say just kind of enjoy it, like have fun, get to know people. Like it's always great to get to know people, get to know coaches especially,
Hmm.
because you never know. Like you may go somewhere and not like it, and then that coach still likes you,
Right.
um, and you can talk to them. So I mean, it's all individualized in your process, but I'd say just like having the most fun that you can with it, and if you're not getting the looks that you want, just I mean, there's always more time.
Yeah.
So I mean, you may not get recruited um, September 1st of your junior year, but you may get recruited in November of your junior year. You don't know. Um, so I'd say just have fun with it and do what you can. Just keep playing.
Yep. That's such an important point about essentially not burning bridges, with the coaches, because even like when you're a lot of the recruiting process is very similar looking for a job. Like so, like
Yeah,
what you have to do and like the skills required, it's very similar. And yeah, and when you're looking for a job, like guess what? Like you never want to burn any bridges. Like if it doesn't work out, you're respectful, you understand because you like you said, you never know. You never know, right?
exactly.
Like maybe the goalie that they had decommits or goes somewhere else, or heaven forbid gets injured and now they're looking for another goalie and you're their guy, right?
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
yeah. Um Awesome. So when you get to Richmond, we kind of talked about before we hit record, you got some freshmen right now getting used to the speed of the game.
Yeah,
It's faster, right? Like everyone shoots harder, like the ball moves quicker. Talk to me
yeah,
about how your goalie game had to change, if at all, when you started playing at Richmond.
yeah. So I something that I've really needed to do like was just take more shots. I mean, you can't. I don't think you can play the position without um, getting shot on like it makes it harder for sure. If you're not taking extra reps or just getting enough shots on you in practice or whatever, maybe. Um, but the thing that I'd say I changed the most was I actually slimmed down a little bit when I got here. I'm still a big guy, but I was a little bigger when I came to school. Um, but no, I think just doing that allowed me to get a little bit faster, and I'm a little bit more mobile now. I'm not really like afraid to come out of the goal at all. Um, and yeah, I mean, just speed with my feet and hands, something we work on a lot. So yeah, I mean, I didn't change much about my stance or positioning or anything, uh, but yeah, everything
Yeah.
sped up for sure.
Yeah, the website's got you listed at 6 foot 200. Is that still accurate, or do we need to get those stats updated?
I was never 200 to be honest with you. I was coming in around like 220. I'm a little lower now. I'm like 210 ish is what I like to play at. So
Oh, I see. All right, all right. They
yeah,
slimmed you down. They slimmed you down on the stats there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I'm 5'8", but I think in our program I told them to put 5'10", so bump up the height and
yeah.
probably add an extra 10 pounds, right?
Yeah, I was never a guy who needed to add the weight. So
There you go. But you get that program bump. You go down in weight. I go up in height.
there we go.
Love it, man. So your first year was actually 2021, and you decided to redshirt. Talk me through that decision.
Yeah, so we actually had a really great goalie, one of the best goalies I've ever seen, Jack Ruspole. Um, and I was coming in as a freshman. I kind of knew my place. Like I knew that was my year to get better. Like obviously I competed as hard as I could to win that spot. Um, but he was a great goalie, so I mean it was tough. But about um, halfway through the season, I had a conversation with the coaches, and they said, "Look, like, um, what do you think of like a red shirt year?" And I was like I had already been talking to my parents about it. Like, would you guys be okay with me taking a fifth year? And so it was already a conversation that I had. And when the coaches approached me about it, I was all for it. Because then it also takes some pressure off of you during the season. It's like, well, if I'm redshirting, then I can just kind of focus on practice, honing in my skills, and
Mm-hmm.
um, doing that. So I wasn't really as worried about playing in games anymore. It was more so just getting better. And I felt that that was really good for me because it allowed me to kind of catch up to the speed of shots and the speed of play in college. And I think that definitely benefited me.
Awesome. So that's interesting. So they did it mid-season. So I imagine,
Mhm.
well, first of all, when you're redshirting, do you still suit up for the games?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
I
But
was
as
still
soon
suiting
as
up.
you go in to play in a game like that it's kind of like a break glass in case of emergency type of situation.
To an extent. I mean, there's some guys that maybe get like a minute in a game and then like they'll come out and like they won't play for a while and then they decide to redshirt. Usually like that minute of playing time won't really affect a redshirt.
Got it. Okay.
But you do have to like I think you do have to appeal it. Um, but usually those guys get those years back.
Yeah.
Um, so
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I was just curious how the rules went. But
yeah.
but you didn't play redshirt that year, and essentially, yeah, it takes the pressure off, right? Now it's just like
Yeah.
I know I have a full 4 years of eligibility to play. I can work on getting better. I mean, as all goalies should be, but like
Yeah.
I can really focus on it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. And then you earned the starting job following year, which would be last season as a, I don't even know what you're, a sophomore,
Red shirt freshman, yeah.
redshirt freshman, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And played great. Played great. I put together a
Thank you.
bunch of save compilations. But yeah, talk to me about, last year.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I actually got my first start against Georgetown. um, about midway through the season. I was dealing with some mental health things at the start of the season, and I actually got beat out before our first game. So Devin Craven, he's a great goalie. He started the first half of the season, and I kind of like got back into the rhythm of things, and I actually got pulled my first collegiate start. I got pulled in the Georgetown game, um, and I think I sat in the UMBC game, and then after that, I think we beat UVA, and I started for that game, and then from that
Mhm.
point on, I was in the whole rest of the season.
I'd love to hit on those mental health things if you're open to it. I know a lot of
Yeah, of course.
yeah, I know a lot of goalies out there, you know, are going through things like that, and it's tough because like you don't hear a lot of people talking about it more so like nowadays, which is great. Like
Yeah,
it's becoming more common for people to realize, oh yeah, like everyone goes through this. Like it's cool to talk about. I don't have to keep it bottled in. But I'd love to hear what some of the challenges you were facing and how you overcame them, if you're cool with that.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I so mental illness actually runs in my family, and along with like the pressure of being a goalie, which I love, and it's great for me, but it can also be kind of taxing at times as well. Especially if you kind of go through a slump. Um, you're not playing great, whatever. But yeah, actually last year in the fall, I was playing the best across my life. Um, and once the fall ended over winter break, I kind of started to feel down a little bit and stuff, and came back, and it just continued throughout the start of the spring. I actually got diagnosed with depression last year, depression and anxiety, and that was a huge like shock to me because I had watched people in my family battle it my whole life, and I never thought that like I would be doing the same thing. And it's not a weakness of any kind or anything like that, but it's definitely something that I had to work through, and I feel like I have now, and I like it's under control, and I feel a whole lot better than I did. But I'd say, yeah, for younger goalies, especially, like just like focus on your mind the most, or younger players in general, because everybody says like goalie is 80% mental and 20% physical, and I completely agree because you can have the talent, you can have the skills, but if your brain's not there, your mind's not there, um, then your body's not going to be able to keep up.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, thank you for sharing that. Cause yeah,
Oh, of course.
even if like you're a goalie and you're riding high and you listen to that and you're like, well, that's not me. Like I don't have depression. Like that, that's not me. It can change like that. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, maybe you get pulled or you have a bad game or a string of bad games or like you play poorly in front of this big coach. And then all of a sudden you get like into this rut. And yeah, you've got to dig yourself out mentally. You've got to learn how to get out of that hole, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, I'd just say um, focus on like one thing that makes you happy.
Mm.
Something that helped me a lot was um, just like talking to people. I leaned on my family a lot during that time, and um, they helped me out a bunch. And like even if it's not something like a diagnosed like mental illness, even if it's just you had a bad game and you're feeling kind of down on yourself, like talk to a teammate, talk to a friend, talk to a family member.
Right.
Any of that, I promise, will help. Um, it helped me for sure, and it's. I mean, that's the only way that you'll be able to overcome it is just talking about it.
Yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree. I think as goalies and a lot has to do with being a man too. Like we just keep it inside, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's kind of how I was raised. Like you got problems, like you keep that inside. And I think that, it tends to then bubble up, right? And then boom, explode. So yeah. And sometimes even just talking to someone, like it gets resolved. I remember I was talking with a young goalie and they had this feeling of like I'm blowing it for my team. Like that was kind of
yeah,
the feeling, which can be common. And then I said, like, have you talked about that with anybody on your team? And they said, no, I haven't. And I'm like, all right, I want you to go do that, right? Just pull somebody aside and like just have a conversation. And guess what? Like when they talk to that person, he's like, no, you're not blowing it for the team. Are you kidding me? You know what I mean? So like they had these ideas going on in their head that weren't even true. And just by voicing it, like you get some resolution. So yeah, I think that's a really strong, really great piece of advice you just gave right there. What were the conversations like that you had? I mean, was it just like more, I don't know, like kind of pumping you up? Was it more, you got this? Was it more, hey, here's what I think you should do? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of everything. I mean, like I said, I'm really close to my family, so they kind of know what mood I'm in at the time. So like, if they
Yeah.
needed to pump me up before like a practice or a big game or something, they would. But a lot of times it was just kind of just talking through things. I mean, just try to call at least one of my parents a couple times a week. Um, just kind of check in, and they always ask how I'm doing, and I try my best not to lie to them and tell them what's actually going on. So I think just honest conversations are what helped me the most. Whether it be um, my dad telling me like that, like I'm good enough to play at this level, and I need to just focus on that, or if it's my parents just telling me they love me. I mean, everything makes a difference.
Yeah. Love it, man. That's awesome. What about you mentioned going through a slump, and there's like, a lot of mental stuff going on, but when you're going through a slump, is there, physically, what do you do to get out of that?
I would say I just take as many shots as possible, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm in a slump, it's like, which happens. I mean, it's going to happen throughout the course of the season, but it's kind of just like relearning stuff. Like you start to second guess yourself on some things, and it's kind of just piecing it back together as quick as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying out new things, going back to old things maybe you used to do, um, whether it be like a stance change or positionally, like where your hands are. Like um, something big that helped me was I actually, when I was playing worse, when I was going through my slump, I actually had my hands closer together. So I'd move my hands a little bit apart. I actually put a piece of tape on my stick for a while, just so I could get used to it. So I moved them apart a little bit, and then noticed that was helping me a little more. Started playing a little better. Um, so yeah, I mean, just finding like maybe one thing about your game that you can improve, or like
Mm-hmm.
alter just a little bit to kind of maybe boost you out of it. And a lot of it's mental.
Right.
A lot of times it's not always what you're doing, but even just a little change like your hand positioning on your stick can be enough to shock your brain out of a slump. So
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of doing little adjustments like that. I mean, not so much like in season or like maybe the day before a game, but like,
yeah,
along the way when you got time to play with it. Cause even if it doesn't work, you can go back to what you were doing before, knowing that, like, all right, with more confidence, knowing that, like, oh, the
yeah,
way I hold my hands before is the best way for me. So,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Um, so what does your goalie training regiment look like right now? You got some personal favorite drills, a lot of shots. What do you do to train right now?
Yeah, yeah. So we're just like I said, getting into practice and stuff. But a big thing I do, like I try to take as many shots as possible. I'll stay after practice, do stuff like that. I've actually been playing wall ball a good amount just to work on stick skills, and I actually do that with a short stick most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, just to kind of, I mean, it works on everything: hand-eye coordination, quick, like hand speed, everything. Um, and then just going through practices and um, stuff like that. I wouldn't say as of right now, like I have any specific drills that I'm doing currently um, that are like at least on my own that are any anything special, but something that we're focused on a lot here. We do this like 3 cone drill. You set up 3 cones, two are kind of like straight, and then one's off centered in the middle, and they're all spread out. And you just work on stepping to each of the cones and getting your hands like over the ball like you would on a low shot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is something like I have a tendency to do sometimes is just like not get down all the way or like get a little lazy and kind of just throw my hands at it rather than get all the way down over it and like kind of corral the ball. So that's definitely something big that we work on a lot.
Yeah, love it. You mentioned you take a lot of shots. What's a lot of shots? How many shots would you say you see in a particular week?
So if we're having practice 5 days a week, um,
You
in
gotta just
season,
do some math, huh?
yeah, I'm trying to think. I probably try to stay for at least like 20 minutes after 2 to 3 days a week, just depending if it's in season or out of season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd say consistently 2 times a week, probably staying after practice, getting some extra shots for about 20, 25 minutes. It also depends on how many guys want to shoot on you after practice. Sometimes it's 20 and sometimes it's like 3. So
Yeah.
the days where it's 20, I'm getting lit up for sure. I'm probably getting um, at least 100 shots in those 20 minutes. So
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. 100 extra shots. Yeah. It's great. And then, times 2 or 3. So an extra 300 shots on top of whatever you see in practice. Yeah.
exactly.
That's how hard you got to work. I think a lot of times goalies are surprised at least young ones at like how many shots you really got to see. Cause live reps is like the best, there's all these great
Yeah.
drills that you can do to work on a particular element of your game. But yeah, I mean, like someone's like, hey, what's some drills for bounce shots? Like go out and take 300 bounce shots. Right. And like,
Yeah.
and work on it. So live shots, hat tip to the live shots. Um, so best game of your career, was it the Virginia game or is it something else?
Um, I'd say best game of my college career so far was probably the first time we played High Point this year. I think I had 19 saves and 5 goals allowed, I believe. Um, that one I was locked in for. The Virginia game was probably the most memorable game for me
Mm-hmm.
this past year, just because first time in our program's history that we beat them. So that was really exciting. But yeah, I mean, I think that first High Point game was really. I thought that my performance was the best that I could have given at that time. So
Yep. I was just looking up. It's 19 saves, 5 goals allowed. It's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome. Even got some Devin got in the end, made another save. So 20 saves total as a goalie unit. That's pretty impressive.
yeah,
Yeah, and then you guys made a little run to the finals. Winning the SoCon, right? Beating
hmm
Jacksonville 10-9 and then, ultimately falling in the first round. So great season. We'll be looking forward to what you guys got in this upcoming season.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's gonna be exciting for sure.
Now, are you losing a lot of guys, or could you have like the core unit coming back? I mean, I know we got the goalie coming back.
Yeah. So we lost Ryan Lanchberry, who's a huge piece of our team, great leader, great lacrosse player. Ray Barron was another one. He's a depot we lost. Um, he was a 5th year last year. We got Jake Saunders back, which is great. That's going to help our defense a lot. And then Jack Fabian's back and healthy. So yeah, I mean, we lost some key pieces last year, but I think that the guys on our team that were playing maybe a little less minutes or weren't playing at all definitely stepped up. Everybody looks great so far, so I think we'll be able to replace those guys for sure, or not replace, but fill their spots because
Yeah.
um, Ryan Lastray and Ray are 2 hard people to replace, but.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Good luck. Like I said, would you call yourself one of the leaders of the team? And if there's a young goalie that kind of wants to improve their leadership skills, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think of myself as leader. I couldn't attest to that with any of my teammates or anything, but yeah, I mean, I'd say if like if you want to be the best goalie you can be, like building a trust with your defense is huge. Whether that be like maybe you let in a shot, like you want to meet up with your defense, be like look guys, that was my fault, like I'm sorry,
Right.
whatever. And then when maybe they get beat, they look at you and it's like that one's on me. Um, so it's kind of just building that trust, like being honest with each other. And I feel like that's your best way, at least on the field, of being a leader is um, maybe just maybe if there's a shot that you shouldn't have saved, like maybe could have had, but probably shouldn't have saved. Like even just telling your defense, like, "Hey, look, that was good D. Like it's my fault." Even if maybe it wasn't. Um,
Right.
just kind of build that respect and that chemistry with your defense, and like if you have that trust there, then it'll be a hard unit to stop.
Yep. Love that. Yeah. Building up that trust, so important to being a leader. And like you said, a big part of that is ownership. Right. Even if it's not your fault, like you said, there's probably some saves that or some goals given up that, all right, you're only going to save that one 30% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you still, yeah, taking ownership. I love it. I love it. All right. What about pregame rituals? You a big pregame ritual guy?
I'd say, yeah. I mean, I'm a very superstitious person with a lot of things. I actually have a playlist on my phone that I listen to before every game, and it kind of gets me like pumped up a little bit to go in. And like I try to stay as calm as possible for the first like maybe 30 minutes we're in the locker room, and then I put my headphones in, and I kind of have fun. I'm not really a super serious person on the lacrosse field. Like I like to like talk a little smack sometimes and have fun. So like a lot of times I just plug in my headphones and I'll be bouncing around, dancing, doing whatever, kind of just getting loose for the game. And like
Yeah.
that's one of those things, like going into big pressure situations. Like I think that pregame ritual definitely helps because I kind of have fun before I even start playing, and then I have even more fun on the field. So
Yeah, you staying loose. You staying loose. Yeah, I mean
exactly,
that's kind of having fun. Puts you in like your body loose and in that and in a state that we want to be in, right? I think a lot of times when goalies struggle, it's because you got all this tension and you're so tight and you're nervous and you're gripping your stick, and
yeah,
that's like all the opposite of what we want. So many times the right answer to a goalie struggles is to have fun,
yeah.
and yeah, you can do that.
That that's the thing my dad always told me. He said, "Just go out and have fun,"
I
because
love it.
like if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right.
All right. Afterwards, I'm gonna ask you to send me that playlist if you could. I got a little goalie playlist going. I'll throw it in there. So
uh,
yeah. Well, Zach, like I said, good luck in the upcoming season. Thank you for coming on the show. That was tons of fun. If you had to leave the goalies with one last piece of advice, what would that be?
I mean, I would say have fun. I
There you
mean,
go.
have fun, and focus on your mentality over anything.
Zach, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.